Hello everybody, I am Domovex, comicreleases.com assistant editor, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Junkyard Joe Deluxe Hardcover by Image Comics from the hands of storyteller Geoff Johns, storyboard artist Gary Frank, colorist Brad Anderson, and Rob Leigh on the letters. Here is a look at the front. There was also a regular market version of the cover. This is the direct market cover, they're known as the dog tags cover, with Joe there on the snow with the blotches of blood on the ground. I prefer the minimalist one, but I know that other people have different preferences, so this was definitely one that I had to get a hands on. Here's a look at the spine, and right next to Geiger itself, here's a look at the back of the book. Some heroes are made, not born. All art and colors by Gary Frank and Brad Anderson. One thing I actually will note is that the ISBN and the direct market cover have a sticker stamped on it. As far as that is concerned, if you look at what these usually look like, these usually do not have an added sticker or anything else of the sort, while this one most certainly does have an added sticker to it if you are buying the direct market cover. If you peel it off, it will have the regular ISBN. So an interesting thing to note there, but that is the production that we are dealing with in terms of Junkyard. This is a book that retails for $34.99, and it does collect the 6-issue Junkyard Joe miniseries that came out back in the year of 2022. Let's go ahead and take a look inside of it. All right, fellas, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of Junkyard Joe. No dust jacket this time. If you did buy one of those direct market covers from DCBS or ISBN or IST, I should say, in stock trades, they do have dust jackets for the Geiger Deluxe, but this one, interestingly enough, does not have a dust jacket. I'm very glad for that. Usually Image covers don't have dust jackets, which is something that I do find very interesting as far as the inlay of the book is concerned. There is this very, very gorgeous piece from Gary Frank and Brad Anderson detailing some of the events that happen along in issue number 1 of the book. A nice touch to the design of the book. I would say it is the same on the front and the back, as you might not be able to tell. Let's go ahead and look now at the inside. Junkyard Joe, a top secret file, whatever might be in here, as the cracks of the book continue. I will say there is another, I don't know if you can see it from the front of the book, but the thing along the spine, you can see the spine creaking a little bit. I did just finish reading this morning, so very, very happy that I was able to get it in my hands. Okay, so here is a look at the copyrighted material information along with the accredited storytellers for this book, as far as that is concerned. So what is this about? What is Junkyard Joe? And why is this a part of the Ghost Machine line of comics? So Junkyard Joe is about this robot. Okay, so I'm going to be getting into spoilers here as if that wasn't already concerned. In issue 1, we do start off with a comic strip by Maury Muddy Davis. And this comic strip is about this guy called Joe who suddenly can beat everybody at their post, is doing better than them in training and exercises, and when the general in the army comes about, he sees, hey, why is this guy doing better than you? They're like, we don't know, but nonetheless, they have to deal off with the instances of that, and Joe is the person that you should aspire to be. Unfortunately, we don't get enough or more of the story as we do get the ink blotted out, and we are sent off to the Vietnam War, where this ragtag team called the Junkyard Dogs were sent off to go fight in a war where nobody in America wanted to participate. This is where the Junkyard Dogs come into play. So they meet this guy, and he is just a regular looking soldier. This is Joe. He looks like he doesn't cooperate with anybody or anything. You can't talk to him. And this guy introduces himself. His name is Muddy Davis. And they are sent off to, again, go to battles against the Viet Cong, who were taking a stranglehold in the year 1972. Unfortunately for all of them, they are shot down in the wind. But Joe, lo and behold, we find out that he is not a man. He is a robot under that skin. And they have to deal with the consequences of that. Suddenly, he comes about more into play. And we get to see the events of the Vietnam War sort of unfold as we figure out what on earth is going on behind that robot body, behind the mask. And we see that he is very much a violent robot. He is sent to kill. But when he realizes and stops, there's a single tragic event that happens at the end of issue 1, which you have probably already seen. Family is caught up in the wind. He snaps the guns, and President Richard Nixon says we have to call off the U.S. Army 4 years after he ran on a campaign to end violence in Vietnam. We are pulled into the present day, and we are dealt with this mystery. What is going on behind the scenes? Why was this robot created besides the Vietnam War and trying to end it all? And then we get pushed along to the present day, where we are now faced with Muddy as he made bank off of the comic strip that he had created. And we continue to see him struggle along in regular life. And let me just say, the addition of Gary Frank not only doing his usual rough style of pencils that we have gotten to see in Action Comics and Shazam and Doomsday Clock, he has continued to evolve his art form with these comic strips. In fact, I'm asking myself, like, why can't we have Gary Frank do these comic strips along the side? And this story really is about a couple of different things. It's not only just about the terrors of war and seeing the after effects of what one can look like. It's clear that Muddy, because of the comic strip, was able to focus on things that weren't just about the 60s and 70s conflict, but that he has also created a nice quiet life for himself, but is still dealing with some of the after effects. And another thing that's great about these two is that in between issues, there is this nice fluorescent piece, if you may, by Gary Frank. The paper is a little bit different. It feels different from the rest of the book. Nonetheless, there are comic strips that are added in here, which begs the question of really what was the intention of Geoff Johns and Gary Frank incorporating the comic strip and newspapers to this. It is an interesting development in figuring out how important storytelling is, not only on the American magazine level that we get at our comic shops, but it also delves into the newspaper element that we get on Sundays, reading stuff like Calvin and Hobbes, Peanuts, and it's all weaved into this larger than life story that suddenly in this universe that we are placed in, because of Geiger and the unnamed universe that Johns and the rest of his artists have set up, you really get to see and feel this larger than life grand story placed in the hands and thoughts of the people who are in this book by the numbers. It really is, and I've found this to be quite a compelling read. You are dealing with trauma and seeing the after effects of what happens and how people deal with the effects of war on the protagonist front with Muddy, the robot Junkyard Joe, and also the people who are looking after him, because again, he is incorporated into the American sense of, well, he was an American-born project to stop a conflict that was raging on for well over a decade and a half. So all of these pieces come together in a nice 6-issue story, and there is a resolution to this. While we do get to see some pieces possibly going to be picked up in the current Geiger ongoing that's coming out in, well, currently as of now. So this, if you did like Geiger, I actually would suggest reading and picking this up, because I found this to be a lot more enjoyable than I thought coming in. And also, this was something, and there are a lot of twists and turns in this story, turns that I did not expect to go. And that's actually something that I was very, very happy with when I first came across this book. There were issues and elements of the story that I didn't anticipate, and maybe I should have, but I can gladly say that a lot of the I thought this was going to go there type of regular war story really turns on its head, and the twists are very, very nice to say. So as far as the story is concerned, I think if you are looking for a war story, something that besides Johns, it's really only Garth Ennis and Philip Kennedy Johnson who have gone after, this is a nice thing to read. Go ahead and look at the back of the section. What's included in the back of the book? We do have a biography by Junkyard Joe, with, of course, lettering by Rob Leigh, who is doing all of the lettering over at the Ghost Machine universe. We also have a nice timeline of the unnamed universe. Junkyard Joe and Geiger, of course, are the Gary Frank titles. Paul Pelletier is, I believe, taking over issue 7 to give Gary Frank a little bit of a break on that. We also do have Redcoat, and that is a book that I'm also very much anticipating, because it is Geoff Johns and Brian Hitch doing a Revolutionary War story. And I think this is really the wheelhouse of, I believe Brad Meltzer is going to have a book in this too. So Brad Meltzer, if you guys didn't know, and yes, I understand the critiques of Identity Crisis, and very much so. His novels are great, especially of Americana lore, and I think that it's going to be a nice addition to the universe when it is all said and done. The nice thing about the Ghost Machine books too are that all the artists are pretty much, because they all own the company, it's not just Johns and Gary Frank who are doing the story. Everybody has a piece of the company to do whatever it is that they want to. And on top of that, other people get to work on other people's covers and books and really get to delve themselves into the universe, which means that we will probably get an inevitable crossover in 3 to 4 years between some of these titles to build all of them up. But it is nice to see that a lot of the artists and illustrators who are over there aren't just doing their regular books. They're really having a lot of fun with other people's creations and titles, and really capture the effect of being torn apart. And also, speaking of being torn apart, they do have a dedicated section in the back for people who served in any military, and thanking them for their service, and dedicating to the people who have sacrificed their lives in the honor of keeping us free from tyranny. We also have a nice section in the back that is also dedicated to the behind the scenes for Process, indicating different phrases that are iconic to the creators, Geoff Johns and Gary Frank, and really the inspiration for why they integrated comic book strips, not only drawn by Gary Frank, but there is also Calvin and Hobbes, Peanuts. They really delve into the comics newspaper subgenre in this book, and try to message on that as well. So that is a very nice thing to see that they added along in as well. And that is the end of the book, with a symbol that I will let you figure out why it is so important. And that is it for the overview. But yes, if you are looking to pick up this book and also Geiger, let me know in the comment section down below if you're planning to pick it up, and which of the Ghost Machine books that you are going to check out once it is all said and done.
If you haven't yet, check out our website, comicreleases.com, my and Webhead's love letter to comics, a hotspot where you can finally figure out what's coming out, when, from what place. Our unique upcoming website tracker in the Collected Editions tab makes sure that you're on top of every single collected edition coming out on the market, with release date updates to the minute, from the tiniest graphic novels to the giant Generator Deluxe hardcovers as large as an absolute. Our unique spreadsheet not only gives out the most accurate information out there, but our format also filters ensure that you can find your books as quickly as possible. The tracker also gives out links to domestic and international retailers so that you can purchase your comic books at the snap of a finger. We are also proud to host monthly solicitations as per given by the publishers that generously send us information to give to you all. From the Ultimate Universe to the creator-loved Oceans and Universes, we specialize in giving you the most readable format of solicitations without any of the annoying advertisements. If you also donate to our Patreon at just $2 a month, which is less than a coffee at Starbucks, you will receive access to a special watch list dedicated to individually tracking items that are on your wish list, past or present. Place in your tracking number and make sure that these books also not only come in safe, you can even put in special comments on these as well. On top of that, your name will also show up at the end of every single Dom of X video creates as a huge thank you. That is comicreleases.com. For more information, check this out down in the description. If you also want to contact me or Webhead, check the contact forms down in the description or email me down in the description.
But that's going to be it for me. I am Dom of X, UBU. Take care and dominate the day wherever you go.